if you come up and lead us in prayer to get us started.
What? Welcome, everyone. Creator, let this meeting be productive. May we have good hearts and good mind when we have this meeting. I myself persecuted some of the council people here. I always complained, Creator, watch over our people, our young, our old, the ones that are having a hard time. And I want to thank, we're bound to be here to speak here. I thank you in your name, Creator. Say amen.
All right, to start it off tonight, we've got a small presentation from Dr. Gary Leva. I was going to have Bunky Andrews, if you could come up and introduce Gary before we get started here. And just so that you know, Chairman Cyrus is, I think, in D.C. testifying, won't be here this evening, and Lynn Holder had a relative pass away this morning, so she will not be here either.
This might be long enough. I can probably just carry it.
Back in 1985, I worked with Gary Leva. I worked for him as the man director. And Gary was the service unit director over there in the Coeur d'Alene tribe. And since then, we worked on a Benoit medical clinic back in 1987, I believe. And then we got funded through the BIA and Indian Health Service and congressional funding. Gary was instrumental in doing that years ago. And currently he's working still with the Benoit Medical Center in Summer, Idaho. And the seniors church, the facilities over there, which is how many square feet? Yeah, 50,000 square feet is a great facility. It has everything any community would want, reservation would want. And with that, I'll introduce you to Gary Leva. Gary, presentation.
Hi there, thank you all for the invitation to come out today. I really appreciate it. How many of you have been over to Plummer and seen the facilities over there? A couple of you? Okay, great. What I wanted to do, and Frank had asked me if I could come out and show you a few of the pictures that we've developed for the Wellness Center, the Corporate Tribal Wellness Center, which is all part of the umbrella of Benoit Medical Wellness Center. Last October, we opened a brand new facility. We've been open now 22 years. Been open to the public since day one. And we have grown significantly over the years. We started with 14 staff, about 600-700 patients. Now we have 160 staff, and we have 6,000 patients. So it has really grown, and because of that growth, we have expanded and remodeled and done everything we could until the point where we were just had overgrown the entire facility, and we needed to start planning for a new facility. So we're really fortunate. But during that growth period, we were open about 5 or 6 years, and we knew we could do primary care. So the Tribal Council, and our health board, and the staff got together and started planning for a wellness center. And the whole point of the Wellness Center was prevention. Because of diabetes and chronic disease management, the kids coming out and needing a place to go to start working on health and wellness for them, as well as the seniors and everyone else in the community, started planning for that. So to make a long story short, 5 years later, but at that time we had no land, we didn't have any funding, we didn't know how this was going to happen, but the key thing was developing the vision and the concept before we ever started moving down that path. It took us 5 years. In 5 years, almost to the day, we opened with a 43,000 square foot wellness center, which you'll see in a couple of minutes. And it was paid for through all kinds of revenue sources, including third-party revenue from the clinic operations. And we've plowed all that funding back into health services for the tribe and for the community. And fortunately, we were able to wait long enough, and we delayed this. We could have opened probably a year or two earlier, but by waiting, we were able to generate all the funding we needed and open up the facility without any debt. And that is a huge legacy to the tribe by not having debt service to fund these facilities. And therefore, we can offer actually more things down the road. So what I'm going to do is this will be pretty quick, but I'm just going to kind of run you through our process And I understand that you all are looking at a potential senior meal site, maybe a wellness center down the road, maybe even upgrading your own healthcare facilities. This is kind of what the tribe did where I'm at way back when they had the same kind of need. So I'm going to run this through you here. I want to get the light here. If I can get this yeah, I'm not so sure how we can get this clear. This is right here. Anyway, I guess we'll just do the best we can with what we got. A couple of things here that I think were important to look at were how we got there. And one of the things we did was really conducting a needs assessment. And that was the very first step we took was doing that. And that was pretty important. One of the things that I've noticed in working with tribes in my travels when they start creating these facilities is that there's a real big push to get an architect and a real big push to get a design. And I think that what I see happens is that once you get the architects on board, they start developing a concept that changes dramatically from the time that you begin. And what I have seen and what I have seen that works is that if you develop the concept, if you have your senior meal site or a wellness center or else whatever facilities you're doing, if you develop the concept first, you will save a great deal of money when you bring your architect and your firm on, because they're going to want to know what that concept looks like. So this is one of the really critical steps that we took in order to get that done. So establishing the concept, I have that as a third bullet, as really one of the most critical steps you can take at the beginning, and spending a great deal of time working on that concept. That's exactly what you want. And then all these other steps, we're looking at the budget and construction cost, equipment, all those are things that you already know about and know how to plan for that. The last two items that are really critical are staffing and programming, because not only do you have to look at what is it going to take to build it, what is it going to take to maintain it and operate it. So looking at your staffing and looking at your programming has a direct relationship and a connection to the concept. So everything generates from the concept from that point forward. What I like to do, and this is what we did, is conducting a needs assessment. We had focus groups, we had community forums like this, in your district meetings, we had surveys. We collected absolutely as much information as we could. The planning, we established a planning committee that really kept these projects moving forward. We did this with the medical facility, we did it with the wellness center, we did this with the new facility, It's really important to keep the momentum going. And if you have a small group of people that does that and communicate what's going on with the project, that will help generate interest and keep people's interest. Because otherwise, you have an uncoordinated process that people get discouraged. And I think because these things take a while to actually come to life, it's important to keep the community involved. Then you start looking at site location architect, all those kinds of things. Potential funding sources. We've used a variety of funding sources. Because we're a health facility, it's the big umbrella, we have the ability to generate third-party revenue and designate some of that revenue. If you don't have that, if you look at, we've used sources like HUD, we've used BIA, we've used, the first time in our history we had, the tribe was willing to put in some tribal dollars to kind of, it wasn't a formal match, but to kind of match the potential to get a big grant for us. Also, a lot of tribes omit going after private money. You know, there's a great deal more private money than there is federal money. And so if you really open your eyes and your ears to multiple funding sources, you have a better chance of getting the kind of funding that you need. The capital campaigns, the private funders want to see that you're out there working and trying to generate revenue. And of course, you can always go the loan route, the federal loans. For projects like this, it's certainly more advantageous if you can stay away from the loans, because the more you can stay away from the debt. But if you're in a situation where you don't have the funding, the low interest loans certainly can help, but you got to be really paying attention to that operational expenses. These two things between the planning and the potential funding sources really require a great deal of collaboration and partnership. Today, many of the funders do not want to see you acting as an island by yourself. They want to see you working with other groups. So if there's other groups in the community, if there's businesses involved, if the tribe has tribal dollars to place in this and you're reaching out, that will attract funding. It's pretty rare nowadays that they want to see people be isolated in their projects. And if you potentially open it up more to other community members in addition to the tribe, that's even a greater asset. But that's something you all need to decide for yourselves on what works for you and what doesn't. You're not going to be able to kind of read this, but I have this as our floor plan. But let's get to kind of what the picture looks like. This is the front entry of the wellness. This is strictly the wellness center. This is not the medical facility. This is a separate facility. It's just a few blocks away from the other building. But we wanted to make sure that we put a canopy out front because, like you, we have the elements and the weather, and many of the seniors use the facility. So we wanted to make sure we had an entry that people would be comfortable coming in and protecting them, particularly during the winter months. It's kind of hard to see because of the lighting, but this is a picture of our snack bar area, and it's in the round. And when you look up, what we did in the design was we shaped it as the medicine wheel, and be able to promote health and wellness and all the components for requirements of the medicine wheel. That's our snack bar area. It's not meant to be a restaurant. It's strictly only for users. The top picture is we included a little kiddie pool, and that little pool inside our aquatics area is only about 1.5 feet deep. And that, we actually took the duck out because there were so many kids in it that they were kind of crowding around that duck. So we took that out. But anyway, that's right there at the beginning when you walk in. And one of the things that really attracts people to this wellness center is, of course, it's the kids and the families. And that is like your anchor tenant. I call it that because the aquatics portion of any kind of a wellness facility was what brings the families and kids in. That is the heart and soul of our membership. And so it's important to do that one right. On the right-hand side, the lower right, is our pool, and it's a 25-yard pool, which means it's regulation for competition swimming. It's 5 lanes, and what we saw in our travels, and this is before any of the tribes had really built these. We went to the YMCA's, we went to the educational institutions, fitness centers. We just saw it a number of places. And what we found out is that the bigger you build the deck around the pool, then you can form swim teams and you can get competition. And sure enough, and again, this is all before we ever knew any of this was going to actually happen. And sure enough, now they have a swim team, and the tribal kids are part of that, and the families. and it's big enough where they can all come in and watch and cheer on the kids. Also, a 5-lane pool allows you to do lap swimming as well as teaching at the same time. So building the aquatic part of this is critical, and that's what we found it has worked extremely well. The left-hand side is our physical therapy in a pool. We have 2 separate pools, and here's the reason why. When you do physical therapy and you're doing exercises to work on musculoskeletal, and chronic disease management, you have to have different water temperatures. So if you had to use the bigger pool for that, you would have to close the pool down. You would have to increase the water temperature so that people can come and use that to do their pool exercises. Well, that's a huge waste of energy, and it's a waste of time, et cetera, et cetera. So when we were able to build this physical therapy pool, it's only about 4 feet deep, 5 feet deep. And that's a pool that we use for exercises, and that pool is 88 degrees. So that means we don't have to change the water, and you can have all kinds of activities going on simultaneously. Right inside there, that area is our physical therapy area. But that's not part of these pictures right here, but it's all attached. Now, the top picture is our fitness area in our gym. It's all open. It's like this. It's an open concept. And the reason why we did that, and I explained to the group that came out, is because these facilities can be very labor intensive. I mean, you have to hire a lot of people to watch if you build these things in corners. But if you open it up and you have the space like we have on the very top, 1 or 2 people can watch the entire gym and watch the entire fitness area without having to hire more people. So that keeps your operational costs down. The bottom line is the gym. We have a full-size gym like this, and with bleachers, and we have partitions running right through the middle for volleyball and other activities. And then on the left-hand side is we have a small multi-purpose room, and that room is right off of the gym, and that can be used for aerobics and other kinds of activities like yoga. We have other classes that we do that with. The top right is the physical therapy area. If you can make, I don't know if you can see that, but outside that glass, it looks right at the pool. So when you have your PT people and doing physical therapy, and also we have physical therapy because it generates revenue. Okay, that's something that brings in revenue to the facility. And that physical therapy area is all one area, okay? And in the bottom is the window to our PT area. And again, a picture of the pool. These are not huge areas, they don't need to be. But the key for us was to be able to draw in people that needed that. And when you have, if you're fortunate to have a physical therapy area, and you have a health facility in the community, and you have the doctors and the providers are going to provide you a source of referrals. So you're all right there, you're not having, and then if you have community people that are allowed to use it, you've got a great source of referral as well. But that's what we did, because in our area we didn't have any of these services, and people travel quite a distance to get to these facilities. The picture to the right is we have one racquetball court there, and that's about right for the size of community that we have. And on the left-hand side is the picture of the doors into that racquetball court. It's all plexiglass. You know, we'll just talk a little bit about construction. These facilities are really unique, and you need to be careful about making sure that you have contractors and personnel that really understand more of a healthcare environment, and also water. Water is something that many architects have not had the experience with. And if you get an architect and contractors and others that have experience with water, you will save yourself quite a bit of time and potentially quite a bit of money. We also have, you know, there's the HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning systems, electrical, plumbing. When you have a water system, when you have, you know, we have 100,000 gallons of water in that pool, in the big pool. And you have to make sure that you have systems that are designed to deal with the moisture and the vapor, because those are things that can come back and bite you if you don't do that correctly. We've had to make some modifications to ours over time just to deal with those kinds of things. The other part about this is that there's a great deal of liability when you have water, and unfortunately, federal torts claims does cover a liability, so we didn't have to buy separate policies for that, but you certainly can. We have separate policies for our medical side, which also includes the wellness center. But these are things that the government is covering as long as you have your scope of practice and scope of work identified. For the budget, I just have a slide here that talks about the revenue. How do you get revenue into this? Well, we have membership fees for everyone. One of the things that the tribe did is, because they have a casino, is that they were paying for tribal membership to use the facility as a fringe benefit to the employee. So that's a really nice benefit that is then paid to us for them to use the facility. And we do have membership fees for everyone. Now, if you're a tribal member and you're an employee, you get that paid. If not, then we have a very small amount of charge for membership fees. If you go on our website at bmcwc.com, it has all the fees and everything on our website to the Wellness Center. The key is trying to get everybody to use it. And you don't want to charge people an arm and a leg because then they won't use it. So we try to make that something that's workable for everyone and it's not cost prohibitive. Now here's something that we've done to also bring in revenue. It's something that down the road you all may want to think about. If you build a facility, something like this, if you have a well, whatever you call that, and you bring in potentially as an idea, the senior meal site, if you have youth services programs, if you have other tribal health programs and house them in there, and all the funding from those programs come to you, you have a solid source of revenue to pay for the operating expenses. The tribe approached us 2 or 3 years down the road after we opened and asked us if we take over the tribal youth program. So we took over the tribal youth program. We have programming there, it pays for all the staff, they help pay for the maintenance, and all the funding from that youth program comes into the Wellness Center now. So this is a good way to consolidate some of the programs under one roof, cut down on the expenses that you would have if you had separate buildings, and really be able to make this work financially. All these other expenses are no different than any other program budget. There's other things that you need to do. You need to consider particularly utilities and that kind of thing because they're higher. But as far as the revenues, you have 4 or 5 areas you have, particularly with classes and programming. The programming is critical because if you have the right programming, people will come. And sometimes if people are on a third-party resource or if they have insurance from the private sector, there are programs that they will reimburse for. So what you want to do, this is why going back to this concept is so critical. Because if you get the right pieces into this facility, you can potentially bill for some of these services and you can create stability for the revenue stream that you need to operate in. This is just some of the areas where you have to have administration, fitness, aquatics. We have PT, gym, and community health department. Part of our community health services operated out of the Wellness Center. Now with our new facility, it's all consolidated back under one roof. But these are kind of the things that you need in order to make these successful. As far as the management and operation, there's 2 key things that are critical. One is risk management because of water, and being able to make sure that you have the correct policies and procedures and the training of the staff. These facilities require people that must have proper licensing. For example, pool people must be certified pool operators, and they must have, you've got to have the right lifeguard training. These are things that are not negotiable. You must have those things in order to protect the tribe from any kind of liability. So you have some specialty kinds of skills that are required in order to put a program like this together. Then you have to have emergency plans and fitness. But the real key is the programming. If you get all the policies in place, you get the right people trained to manage these facilities, and you're going to draw in people and be able to have it be really successful. The same thing with any other program. You've got to have the right job description. Your scope of work has to be very clear about who's responsible for things. And the training, particularly the safety, is a big one. And this, the whole risk management issue, safety is very, very big, and it's all covered if you have good training and your people, the kind of people that you need to be able to operate these. There's 3 areas of programming that are very important. One I already talked about is the aquatics area. We're talking about the swim classes, the lifeguard training, the water safety training, swim team. You can have scuba diving classes, all kinds of things related to water will bring people in. The fitness area is certainly the weight training and the cardio area, having the equipment to exercise your fitness classes. And then you can have fitness classes that you can potentially, we have an employee wellness program where we grant, if a person works out a certain number of hours during a specified period, we give them time to earn that will also generate days off. And we also have other incentives for staff and also community members if they use the facility. So it's a constant effort to try to get people to use it and bring incentives for participation. If you have a special population that is, let's say, that's come out of cardiac surgery, or if you have people that need some kind of special care, and you have enough of them, you can provide classes around that programming. The sport and recreation programming, we've had a lot of youth sport leagues. We have a contract with a local school district to come in and use the weight room, and they pay a fee to us to use that because it's so much better than what the school has. So there's a lot of things that you can do. We have adult leagues, of course we have basketball tournaments all year round, and other outdoor activities, but the youth programming, those kind of activities are what will draw folks into the facility. I've talked about most of these kinds of things. We did have one area, the bottom left, we did put conference rooms in the wellness center. We have divided space over 3 areas and then a small kitchen that separates that conjoins the 2 of them. We have never rented that space out for fees, although you could do that because we look at it as a community service, and they're very heavily used because it's pretty much the nicest space in town. So we chose to do that, and that has been very, very, very attractive, having a potential conference room space for the community. And that's really it. That's what I wanted to show you, just kind of a brief idea about what we've done out of Plummer. And there's all kinds of probably tribes that have done this and done many more things than we have. But it's been a great start. And our facility, the wellness facility, has been open now for 15 years. And we've learned a lot over the years. And it's been a great addition to everyone. Okay. Get the lights on and then we can see if there's any questions.
Question. How much cost you guys put this up?
Okay, the question is how much did it cost? Back then it was about $5 million.
Oh, wow.
And the size of the wellness center is 43,000 square feet. Now, I will tell you the bulk, and those of you that have seen that, probably 12,000 to 15,000 of the size of that facility are the pools. Because they're, as you saw, they're pretty good size. But there's a reason why they're there, and there's a reason why they're the kind of size they are. But it doesn't have to be a 43,000 square foot building. I mean, I worked with some of the other tribes in the Northwest who built these, and they built them, some of them have built them bigger, and there's a couple of them that are actually smaller.
So it's not going to take
What we tried to do is build it for growth. And we've never really had to expand it. There really has not been a need. We figure we covered the basis of it, and it's worked well. Yes, well.
How much is your medical facility?
Oh, the new one?
Yeah.
We have a new mountain facility that's 50,000 feet. And that was about 16 million. And of course, that's, in the old facility, I can say the old facility is 22 years old, and that started out with 5 exam rooms, remodeled it, got to 14 exam rooms, and now the facility that we have is 24. So we have medical, dental, probably pretty much probably more like ESP one has, comprehensive care, in-house pharmacy, all those kinds of facilities. And then we also have 2 conference rooms downstairs. And, you all saw we have administration rooms and break areas and those kinds of things.
How long have you been a manager there?
Well, my first go around, I was there the first 11 years. I was with the tribe for 20 years, long before any of those things happened. And then I left for about 10 years, 11 years, and I've been consulting with other tribes on all the operations for health facilities as well. So, and then 2.5 years ago, the board called me back out I'm told they were desperate, they called me and asked me to come back and help them out, so.
The reason I'm asking that question is because a person with good capability and background is what's needed when you build a new facility like this. It's that type of person with your background got to come along, because if you don't, you're going to up at the front when you're establishing a plan. My dad built all the major facilities on the reservation, like all the community center and everything. And he run into problems and changes right up front, right? As soon as he got started, and it's carried on through, but costs went up, and people are unsatisfied. And so, to me, you have to have a well-seasoned manager that's going to be running these things to make it a success. And I think what you're presenting here probably had a lot of your input as a presentation, right?
We've had great teams and a lot of support, and I don't think that, you know, I appreciate that. I don't take the credit for that. I'm part of the group. But yes, having experienced people is good. No, that's a very positive.
You still need somebody you have to focus on that's making those key decisions.
Yes.
Although you may use a broad base of information, you're still going to focus on you as the guy that makes those key decisions. And that's the way it is in reality in the business world now. It has been for a long time.
Right.
But trying to get my point is, and to help the tribal members understand that they got to have the type of person that's going right along with this thing when they start building it, so we don't get ourselves into overextended and the big cost factor, which we can't really afford right nowadays. So that's one of my.
I think the point is well taken, and I will tell you that if you have people that have been experienced with these kinds of things, it really helps. Remember it was one of the first things I said is about establishing a concept. This is where the change orders come out and just burn you badly, because people don't have the concept down, and they go all over. Yes, you know. And then when you get the architects in there, they want to do their own thing. Right? And this is why that concept is so critical. You know exactly what you want. And yes, you get good people, and they help you. But this is where these things go south and cost you a fortune.
Well, I think the critical component that seems to be something that is always missed by the business council and our planning department is getting people input. The tribal members have to have input into anything, or yes, they're going to be dissatisfied. As it is now, I think we have a planning department that tells us where we're going to go and what we're going to do. The seniors, the elders just went through an exercise where we picked out about 4 or 5 different sites. And every single site, planning said, no, you need to go up here. So we tried our best to go, you know, where we wanted to go, but planning and the council just squeezed us, so we'll go up into the other property. But that's the component that's missing from almost every program and every activity of the tribe, is that we don't get people input. And a lot of our people don't want a building that looks like something they can find in Spokane, Washington. We want a building that looks like an Indian building. That doesn't fall down, you know, once you're done with your construction. But we, you know, our tribal members are bright. And nobody ever asks us. So I think your forums, your community activities will pay off in aces if that is done right up front while you're developing the concept.
That's critical.
That's exactly what we're doing. I think Kyle might have a question.
Oh, okay.
Kyle.
You know, I'm kind of surprised you haven't brought this up, but for those of you who don't know, actually Mr. Lee helped us tremendously. He's one of the key players in getting the Ishlim and Keller Health facilities.
Kyle, can you come up? We can't. Everybody can't hear you. The mic.
I've never been told I was too quiet. No, but anyways, Mr. Leva was one of the key guys that's helping us get the Ishlim and Keller Health facilities. I haven't seen them in quite a while.
Yeah.
And even to a lesser extent, the spiel on my chest. But, you know, contrary to what we just heard coming from the planning department, I wanted you to stress the importance of community involvement in both terms of the planning phase and the funding phase.
You know, I know it's hard to see up here, but that community part was really critical. And I remember initially when Keller when looked at that, there was significant community when I was there, others were there, on how important it was. When we were out there in Plummer, we had a number of sessions before we ever designed this, and we had, because you know there's 3 communities out there, they're the main ones on the rest, and we went out there and heard people. Now, there is kind of a caveat on that. When you get communities together, just like you all are doing, everybody wants everything, right? Everybody wants everything. There's a big difference between want and need, right? So if you start with all the wants and you funnel those down to what do we really absolutely need to have here, potentially to make it successful, and also so people will use these facilities, that's the key. And if people understand that you're not going to have everything you want, but there's no reason why you can't stair step and do things in phases. But what are the core things that you need today that you don't have? It's absolutely critical for your community. And that's one of the things we did as we went through that process too. We heard a lot of input in what was important. So thanks for the comment about that.
And sure, a couple parts. How many employees did you say this facility employs?
Now.
The whole medical facility, the wellness center is an umbrella of the bigger one, okay? The wellness center has about 10 to 12 employees, okay? The whole medical facility has about 160.
Okay, so with that in mind, my next question is towards Nina. Okay, in our last meeting, we talked about the $40 million building. The people was trying to tell you, why not build facilities that would get in revenue, build revenue, create jobs. To me, this sounds like a no-brainer. It's not a $40 million building. We could build a wellness center in all 4 districts, so not just one district has it. And it probably still costs less than
$40 million.
the $40 million building that you guys are wanting to build. But I heard it was up to $65 million. I don't know if that's true or not, but 65. So this is what the people was trying to tell you in our last meeting was build facilities that can be used by the youth, the elders, the whole community, not just people that work in the offices. That's what we want.
Good job.
This is going to open a big can of worms. And I really want to get through our discussion here, and I really want to get to the 1% of our district today. I 65 million, that's what the concept was. Just like how this guy said, we didn't go with the concept. It had a lot of growth in it. It had a lot of stuff that we didn't want, like the pool and everything else that was on there. We made a decision for 40 million. That right there is your budget, and it's going to allow you to get all those other funds that you might need for grants, for so you can apply for these other grants and stuff. So the biggest thing that I would like to do with you guys is bring in the admin project in here. It's not even moving forward. I want to bring it in here and show you guys what the admin building's all about. Like you guys said last time, you guys kind of heard my spiel last time, and some of the things that are plaguing me with that decision, like I said, was employment and human safety. We have some people that have gotten cancer from our buildings, and that's a huge risk. We're also that's a risk I don't like to take. And there's also, we are self-insured. I don't know if you guys know that. We're self-insured, and that means we take in all the liability for any claims against us. And there's a ton of reasons for that, for this facility. But I want to get to the admin building. I got the 1%.
What is the advantage of self-insurance?
We got a list here, and we'll just write you on the list if you got questions, okay? Just to be respectful to all people. No, we're gonna have to hold off. Next is Sherry, and then Pharaoh, and then Lana. If you want your name on there, please raise your hand.
Yeah, I wanted to know from the gentleman in the medical part, what is included? Medical, dental, mental health, alcohol programs?
Yes.
They're all housed. And does Title 19 play any role in your income?
As far as Medicaid?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. It's
Big. It should be pretty
because we
big.
get the encounter rate from IHS and sales for Medicaid, Medicare services, yes. We encourage it. Now, healthcare reform is a huge game changer. That should be a big bonus to us because we have all those services right there, and we'll be able to, we have 50% of the people that come to the facility do not have health insurance.
But they're covered under, because of all of our low income, we're covered under, many of us are covered under Medicaid.
Yes. We have considered funding that helps us provide services to people that are uninsured, the whole community, okay? So 50% of the people that utilize the services we have do not come in with any resource at all. With healthcare reform, we're hoping that changes to even 10 or 20% of those people have qualified for Medicaid. And Idaho is way behind Washington. That's going to make a big difference to us from a revenue standpoint, and that's going to help our bottom line. So we're looking forward to that happening.
So even in your wellness center, then your physical therapy would be covered by Title 19 also.
It is now.
I hope the council is listening. Title 19. Thank you.
Medicaid's a big payer in this country because of that
If
encounter
you
rate.
have the program
If you've got the program,
established, but
yes.
if you don't, you're out of luck.
Now, your health facility here is run by IHS?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. See, that's a big difference. Federal sites, as PO and Omak, cannot do a lot of things because they're federally operated. We have so much flexibility, we can do so many more things. And that was a big decision for me. I was there before, that was a big decision. But they made that decision from the beginning and felt it was the right decision. And it has paid huge dividends. There's no way that Coeur d'Alene Tribe, 2,200 enrolled members, could have a 50,000 square foot facility with all these services in it serving their own population. It would not have never happened.
Right.
It would never happen. Never happen.
And then we would get away from all of these non-payments from IHS. You know, a lot of times people go to a doctor or something, they can't get paid for it unless they have that blessed PO number.
That's a whole other contract element.
Yeah.
You were asking about.
So what were you saying, we, as opposed to IHS,
There-
billing and stuff?
There's a tremendous difference in, for example, the facility here in Omak, when they bill, that revenue stays with them, stays with IHS. Okay, IHS person dictates what services will be provided. Okay, they have a lot of rules and regulations. Well, most tribes were services were provided by IHS 25 years ago. Everything was like they had it. When the laws changed in the 70s and self-determination came out.
Self-determination.
Then tribes started doing this Title I contracting. First of all, they allowed 30 tribes 1 year, and the next year, 30 year, 30, they kept going out. And final times became compact, tribal compacting as well. And now, you're really able to do, it's almost like operating a small business on your own. The tribe has full authority, full control of all the dollars that come in. We can spend money any way we want, as long as it's healthcare. And that's the difference between SPO and Omak versus Keller and Angelina's done, because they can do much more program-wise and service-wise than here, because it's still federally adopted. And I'm not saying these, I'm not saying that the comment on people are bad, I'm not saying anything about that. The system is not geared to try to ramp. The federal system is not, and that's why a lot of them try to take it over, because they want the programs to meet people's needs. And when you have local control, you all know you make decisions that are best for you. So I was very fortunate, and I'm incredibly fortunate to be associated with the tribe that chose to do this. They had no clue how to do it, none of us did. But it's become very, very successful. I think they put the support where it needed to be, let the people do their job, and really went down a path that has become, in many ways, a model in Indian country. We're all people that didn't know any of this before. So we've had to learn. We've had to learn the hard way too. We're not perfect. But the tribe, I know, is very happy with the services as far as the quantity of services, with all medical, dental, community health, pharmacy, the substance abuse program, the mental health programs, all the programs that we want to do. So it's been a great advantage.
Good, thanks. Farrell, and then Lana.
Gosh, I wish I was a gambler. I think the council is got their 50-cent put right in the machine, because I think a wellness center is good and everything, but if you listen to Obama healthcare reform, they're cutting senior programs, they're cutting Head Start, Walmart. A lot of the employees can't even afford health insurance because they don't work 40 hours a week. Okay, Coeur d'Alene, yeah. You got Spokane, you got the Reliant community over there, and they can generate the money and then they can put it in. But you have to look at the economy around your district and what you're going to do when you're making feasible plans. We have a lot of older people that don't have health insurance, period. They rely on IHS. You have a lot of tribal people that work that don't have insurance because it's so high for their families. Maybe one in that household has insurance, and then you have 10 clients, and then you don't have full-time work around here. And then, I'm opposed to the new administrative building over in the Spiel for the council and that. And I'm opposed to this wellness center, because when I thought they were talking about wellness center, I thought they were talking about an inpatient for alcohol and drug treatment, where you could generate money, where you have $50,000 that you can spend on one individual for 28 days. And I'm all for the idea about what you're talking about. It's glamorous, it's nice, but the economy is at such a low. How is anybody going to pay for these dues and these memberships? I mean, we got to look around and look at what we have, our own natural resources. And I still say, look at all the land that the tribe is buying. They're exporting hay out. I have horses, and for 3 horses for 20 bales of hay, I paid $400. We have to, instead of looking at our neighbors, we have to look around and see what we have. We have to see what's in our pocketbook. Can I spend that money? Can I afford to have this luxury? Can I afford to build this? It just seems like C-Tech and the tribe, they keep wanting to go farther and farther in debt. And then our children will not have nothing. We won't have anything because we won't have the money to pay them back. Because we have to look around to take care of the whole, and it's never brought to the people about these plans that you're making. And I don't feel like it's feasible, because we're in an economy crisis right now. We have to look around. We have families. We have so many of our men that are not working, and then they're going to open up the mill for a few months. And then what? Why don't we fix what we have and wait? Because you know, so many other tribes, their casinos are doing good and their membership gets per capita. But I have never seen one per capita pay to our membership since the first time that it opened its doors. We have a lot of people that are without jobs, that are hungry and need our help. Right now, I think we need to pull the strings back. We need to look at what's going on and what we really need, and then just fix up what we have instead of spending money we don't have.
Okay, with all due respect, we want to keep the questions that are related to Gary and the wellness and possible funding sources for the possible new senior meal site. And then once we get him out of here, then we can open it up for open discussion. But I don't know if you've seen the agenda. The main reason we're here tonight is to discuss the 1% and how our district wants to spend $960,000. So I'm hoping we get through Gary, get him out of here, get him on his way. Thank him for coming, and then we can open it up a little bit, and then we'll get into the 1%. We'll do the 1%, then we'll open it up. So please keep your questions towards him, and then if not, then we'll have open mic here later on. Okay, thank you. Lana.
I just wanted to know if this wellness center and the clay is not very far from it. Where's the convalescent, their convalescent center?
They don't have one.
Something for elderly care.
Orleans don't have a convalescent center? We have one in the Squilo, and it's lousy. It's only in one district. People from Inchland have lived there all their life. They have to come to the Squilo. That's away from home. People from Omak have to go to the Squilo. Keller, they have to go to the Squilo. So, would it be feasible to have a convalescent center?
Or assisted living.
Close by these facilities? Because when Liz and I, not Liz and I, but Liz took us up there to that, Liz and took some seniors up there to that apple orchard. They were saying, well, there's going to be Mighty Wellness Center. We could have a clinic up here. We could have that. We'll be close to that. So who cares? I don't want to be up there. But I think we should have a convalescent center in Omak for people from Omak. One in Inchland for people from Inchland. I know a lady now that doesn't like Miss Phelan's convalescent center because she's away from home. The people she cares about. Would that be possible?
Yeah, I don't know if that would be possible, but that gets back into really looking hard at what the need is and whether or not you can afford to do those. You know, those are really very expensive operations, and whether or not you can pull that off. You may be able to do, but take a good feasibility study to look at. That's what you want to do for sure.
Yeah.
Larry Carvini.
Hi Gary, how are you?
Okay.
Hey, I was wondering, I thought you had some, not necessarily convalescent, but you have some homes right there in your medical campus. You know, there's the wellness center, there's where the new clinic is, and then there were some other homes that were being built.
That was senior housing.
Yeah.
That's kind of downtown.
Yeah. Now, what about? I know you have community health representatives and nurses that go out and see not just those people, but the others. Can you speak about that a little bit? Because I think that's a really good program, and I think I didn't hear that through your community health and part of your wellness. You know, that's where your community health nurses were,
Right.
Nutritionists and stuff.
Right. We have a community health program that's a little bit different than I think most tribes. We started out with the typical CHRs. You all know that the CHRs, they have that here now. And what we found out is that they weren't trained enough. They didn't have a level of training that they needed to really do some patient care. So essentially what we ended up doing is transitioning from the CHR model to people with, we required them to get either a CNA, a certified nursing assistant, training, elevate their skill, and then we went up to, we have a few nurses now that are RNs, and almost everybody now has some kind of a designation, either a CNA or an RN, and really we do a lot of outreach now, much more than we ever did before. We even have 2 exam rooms that we built a new facility at a community health, because we have our nurses now are trained in foot care. They have specialized training in foot care for all the diabetics. So we have specialty things like that. And then we also have a nutritionist, and we also have a dietitian. Now these old things didn't come overnight. This is over a long period of time that we transition. So that's what we do. And then people now coming out of hospitals, we make sure that we see them. We have, of course, we have standard things like WIC. We've got moms coming home after delivery and tracking them. So we have a tracking system for them. So we have our community health department is pretty comprehensive. It's almost like a public health department, but we can't call it that.
Do you still have an MA's training there at the center?
We haven't had it this last year because we were so overwhelmed with getting the suit building that we're going to start that. But we're looking at starting that back up. Because we realize that we need to train at home. Train people. If we're doing that, we're looking at dental assisting the same thing. Hard coach for the crew. So we're trying to implement those kind of training programs.
Okay, next, Carlene. Welcome.
Thank you. You know, I've heard over and over Title 19. Title 19 is like the panacea, the gold bucket of money. It's not. One of the things that people have to realize is that Medicaid is put through by DSHS with medical coupons for people to go and get services. Right now, anybody who has Medicaid and medical coupons, the majority of them are going across the river to the outside clinics for services. You know, so Title 19 is not anywhere close to where it could be. And people have choice. So when you think about Medicaid, you have to think about what are you going to do to entice those folks to come back over here to get services? Because if you don't, you're going to miscalculate your revenues and you're going to be in trouble. And Gary, I have a question for you. Is your facility considered a community health clinic?
Yes.
Okay.
Community health center.
Yes, a community